Chip pass is caught. That's going to be a first down for the Ravens. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, and the crowd goes wild.
All right, welcome back to the Play Action Podcast. This is episode 16. I'm your host, wide receivers coach Lamont Johnson.
And I'm Chad Montgomery, defensive coordinator.
Head football coach Jonathan Coddington. Great to be back. Thanks for joining us. If you were tuning in with us last episode, you got to hear a little bit about some of our all-conference awards, team awards, that we got to share at the end of the banquet. Want to be able to continue to celebrate the good things that had happened in 2024 with our team. And one of the pillars of our program, we talk about adding to the legacy here, and we want to share some ways that some guys added their stamp on our program and added to the legacy here. First, we're going to talk about some guys that etched their name in the record book. Here for some single game efforts, season efforts, career efforts. We're going to talk about a little bit later on and meet with some of our guys about what they're putting into the community here with the Teach One to Lead One program and how the legacy of AU football is impacting the greater community of Anderson. But excited to dive in and celebrate some more some guys that did some great things on the field this year. So man, there were a lot of cool things that happened. We'll start with a couple of team kind of records. Where different units etched kind of their name and put a stamp on the record book. Start with on defense. Week 2 against Oberlin, our defense had 136 interception return yards, which was 4th most all time for a single game. I've said two big interceptions that game. Kind of take us back to week 2 for that big effort.
Yeah, so really kind of a weird game for us on the defensive side. The very first series, we get a deflected pass, which ends up in their hands, and they score a touchdown on 3rd down, very first series, and it's like, oh no, what just happened? And then they shut it down the rest of the game, and then I think it was the second half there, Zaire stepped in front of a pass, took it 85, 86 yards. I think it took a day and a half for him to go those 86 yards, but he got down there, put the ball in the end zone for our only defensive touchdown of the year. Later on, Elijah Hearns kind of closed it out with a pick that really was another big return. We had a defensive penalty. Those return yards would have been even more significant. But still, racked up all those yards. And then we talked about Siddiqui a little bit earlier, having 4 sacks in that game. So we were getting it done on the front end, got it done on the back end. It was really a fun game to be a part of. And the defensive guys had had a big day.
Absolutely, and those interceptions too happened at big moments where one, the Zaire's return put us up by 2 scores, which is huge, and then Elijah's interception really sealed the game at that point, and got it to where we were able to run that clock out and call it a day. So it was some pivotal moments. Obviously, those happened. On the offensive side of the ball, this was a team effort, season record, for 8th all time, in the AU record books, for pass completion percentage, as a team completing, about 57% of our passes, in the pass game, got the ball to a lot of different guys, had some good success in the quick game, and some good opportunities there. Coach talked about the pass game, and obviously season long, kind of landed in the record books with that.
Yeah, that's huge. It's huge, and it's all about getting a lot of different people involved. And that's one thing that we really try to do: get the guys who need the ball, and which we knew exactly how many different guys got targeted. But it's all about just taking the first read, getting the ball to the open guy, making conscious decisions, and living with it. And it's good to see that. 56% of the time we did that, and it got us up in the record book.
Yeah, absolutely. The final team record, this was for a season, our punt return team, landed in the AU record books, 10th all time for average yards per punt return, averaging, 10.2 yards per return. And, we had more punt returns this year significantly than we did last year. We were able to force a lot more teams to get in punt situations, which is great. And as the defense, really stepped up big this year, then the special teams piggybacked off of that to be able to, set the offense up with an extra first down, more or less. And so, that was great to see from that punt return team. Well, let's transition to some individual game records. The first one coming out of the receiver room, Julian Hogan, tied for 3rd all time for the longest consecutive streak of 30 straight games with a catch. Now, those were obviously the only 30 games he played here. He came in, transferred from Indiana Wesleyan, played 3 years here at AU, had a catch in all 30 games. That's the third longest, all time in AU history. Take us through a little bit of his career here. It's tough to average a catch, every single game.
Yeah, no, and I think that's huge. It's all about through this process finding a place where you're wanted, where you can be involved in the offense. Of course, you want to go to your dream school, but it's all about going to a school where you contribute and actually make an impact. And like you said, for 3 years in a row, started every game, got to touch the ball in every game. It definitely says a lot about who he is as a player, but also just talked about just being durable and just being available. A lot of workload throughout the week, come weight room and practice reps. So it's good to see him make it out healthy and balance everything like that.
Absolutely. On the defensive side of the ball, Coach, you mentioned both of their efforts already, but back from that game, Zaire, had the 85-yard interception return, which is the tied for the third longest all-time in AU history. Siddiqui with the 4 sacks that game too. Some awesome individual efforts, though it was a collective defensive effort. Absolutely, that game.
Yeah, no, it was. We'd like to see Siddiqui get multiple sack games under his belt again next year, and then same thing for Zaire. Zaire was close in the Luther game as well to scoring again. So again, big things coming out of those guys, and they'll have a chance at more record opportunities next year.
Absolutely. Special team wise, there were 3 guys that had some individual game records putting themselves in the record books. Actually 2 different punters get on the list for longest punt. Elijah St. Pierre had a 71-yard punt against Luther, which is 6th longest in AU football history. Justin Beeler with a 68-yard punt against Alfred State, 9th longest in AU football history. Obviously both guys did a great job when they got their opportunities, throughout the season, flipping the field for us. Weirdly enough, looking at this record, it's actually not all punters on this top 10 list. One of my teammates who was a quarterback actually had a 72-yard punt, one time as well too, who landed himself on the record book. But two long punts there. Justin Beeler additionally had 347, total punt yards versus Hanover, which is 9th most all time. Actually wasn't, though, even on the top 10 of most amount of punts. He just had several really long punts that game and did a great job flipping the field, pinning them down there, and that was a big reason why that was a game where we were in it right there. I think the special teams played a good part in that. The last special teams record, longest kick return, Tone Hurd, 91 yards versus Franklin, 4th most all time. We talked about him last week as well too. Great effort there for that. All right. Well, next, get into some individual season-long records. First on the offensive side of the ball, had a couple of guys, and these records kind of go together a little bit in a lot of ways. Zach Montgomery had 167 completions, which is 10th all time. As far as pass completions go, on the receiving end, Julian Hogan had 69 receptions, which was 8th most all time. Obviously it was a great connection between those two guys. Completed a lot of balls, to one another. Obviously there were other, receivers as well too that had some good seasons. Tell us a little bit more about the pass game and kind of that connection.
Yeah, I know with Zach, he was a late addition for us coming in the spring, and I think that says a lot about a guy, coming in a short period of time, being new to the team, and not only leading the team stat-wise and record-wise, but he was voted a captain for us also. Same thing with Julian. Both of those guys were captains on the offensive side of things, and they also lived together. So it was great to see the connection kind of show on the football field, show in the record books. And those guys put a lot of time in, not just only in the weight room, but from film studying to out there throwing and catching and stuff over the summer. That as a former receiver, that's what it's about. It's about being able to have a healthy relationship with the quarterback, be there for him when he's in a crunch, especially when you're a dude in the offense. And Julian came back as our guy, being a 5th-year guy for us, and Zach kind of knew who he was coming in. So both of those guys kind of look forward to working with each other, and I hope that they're happy with the work that they did and what they added to the legacy here.
Yeah, the chemistry that you mentioned, the work over the summer, just how much that then translates over, as you got a good trust, kind of in each other there in the past game. Now, two individual season records on the defensive side of the ball. We mentioned them, already with a single game record, but Zaire had 124 interception return yards, which was 6th all time. Connor Huffman in the season record book for tackles for loss had 13 tackles for loss this year, which is 9th all time, for a single season effort. Both guys were captains on the defensive side of the ball, like those guys, captains on the offensive side of the ball. Had some great production there too, all throughout the season.
Yeah, and I think we already talked about Connor kind of being our double team guy last year. Had we been able to have a few other things go our way defensively last year, he might have even moved a little further up the books. But had a great year, as we talked about earlier. Again, Zaire, number 2 in pass breakups in the conference. He actually, as a former DB, we call them pass breakups with their drops, and so he could have had even some more return yards this year. And so we'll work on his hands in the off season, maybe get him in the receiver drills. But again, had a great year. And Connor's done. Zaire's got a chance to continue to climb.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And then, so that transitions us obviously to special teams there. Justin Beeler, had an individual season record of averaging 40.1 yards per punt, which is 3rd most all time. In AU football history, did a great job. When he got those opportunities to flip the field, to do that well. Well, lastly, take a look at some career records, and we had, 4 seniors that put their name and their stamp on the career record, book as well, too. All guys that we've already mentioned, to this point. Connor Huffman, 33.5 tackles for loss, which is, 6th all time. Didn't just do it this year, but had consistently done it year after year. Probably could have had some opportunities to do more, like you said, but, ended with a great career there. Another defensive guy, but a special teams, record. Tone Hurd averaged 24 yards per return in this year, but as a career record, that's 2nd best all time. As a kick returner here, and his athletic ability, his speed, and just having some great ability with the ball in his hands. He did a great job. There. Then offensively, we mentioned Julian. 3. Having some season records, 3 career receiving records. 1,980 yards, which is 9th all-time receiving yards, 183 catches, 6th all-time at AU in receptions, and 6.1 receptions per game, which is 5th all-time. You talked about the durability that it takes to be able to, to be able to, let alone play 30 games in a row, but be effective in 30 games in a row, averaging a little bit more than 6 catches. Each of those got him involved in the run game a lot too over the course of time. Was very effective. And then Zach Montgomery, pass completion percentage in a career, 8th all time. They're completing about 56% of his passes. Was able to, kind of throughout the entire season, get that ball out in the hands, of the playmakers, and did a good job doing that. And so, really cool, obviously, for those guys as seniors to get to, make a stamp on the AU football legacy. Hopefully we've got more guys that are able to break some more single game, some season long, some career records, this next year. But as we talk about adding to the legacy, Coach, you're one that has had his mark on the record book as well too. What's it like having your name in there as a player, but then also getting to put some guys in there as their coach?
Sure, having your name spelled correctly in the record book is important. But it's honestly, it's something I didn't even think about. So having your name in the record book is pretty cool. I didn't even know it until I came back, to be honest. The top 5 or 10 or whatever it is. I dropped a lot of interceptions, so for me it would have been cool if I'd had good hands too. Might have been a little further up the list, but it's a neat deal. It's a cool deal as a player to kind of see your name there in print. Again, I honestly didn't even know it was a thing. I had a chance to play and be durable and available like Julian. To me, that's an impressive thing for a kid like Julian to not be a real big kid and have that opportunity to be consecutive and available. That says a lot as a coach. You want that. But and then for our defense this year to do something we hadn't done in 16 years here on the points allowed, the yards allowed, I'm super proud of those guys. It wasn't just those senior guys and just those guys we talked about. There were 17 to 20 kids that really did their job, and we did a lot of packages and all that kind of stuff. And so super proud of what they accomplished. It's never enough. It's always, we got to do it again and we got to do it better. But to have Connor and Tone and Zaire and Siddiqui and some of those guys get their names in the books when they come back, as they get older, that's a pretty cool deal. So it's exciting as a coach. It was exciting as a player. For us, I've said it before, from the playing perspective, to go from 0-10 to 10-0 was something I never even imagined. It's something now as a coach, it's my burning passion. So to have that on the field and as a coach is that opportunity is there, and hopefully we get there in quicker than 5 years, but you know, that opportunity is cool, and so that really that will impact the record books, and we get our name on that wall here soon. We get your name on that wall here soon. So.
Excited about that. Excited, like you said, we got to keep doing it better, and you know, excited to add to what's already been kind of set as the foundation as guys do that. When we talk about the legacy here, we talk about the football, and the football is really important to us. But more than that, the relationships, as well to the growth of these guys. It's been a cool opportunity this year. It's about 20 of our guys have gotten a chance to go over to a local middle school, with an organization called Teach One to Lead One, and be able to, kind of mentor some younger kids, some middle school kids. Let's throw it over to those guys and let them talk a little bit about that experience.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Play Action Podcast. I'm quarterback coach Garrett Stapleton, and the set looks a little bit different today. We got 3 of our players on with us. If you guys want to introduce yourself.
I'm Garrett Corwin, sophomore, offensive lineman.
Leonard Rand, transfer defensive tackle.
I'm Matthew Shams, senior linebacker.
And these guys are on today because we've been doing a Teach One to Lead One. So we've been going into different middle schools, been able to talk to the middle schools and kind of, teach them about different life lessons. So what has Teach One to Lead One meant to you guys since we started it?
It's been a really good opportunity for us. I always can appreciate helping young kids and helping them, have a little guidance in their life, because some of those kids do come from, more rundown families. And I thought it was a good opportunity for us to take the things that Coach Codd and this staff is teaching us and implement it in their lives.
For sure. So we're kind of talk about what we do in those middle schools. Like, what are the things that we do when we go to the classes?
Pretty much when we go into the classes, we're just interacting with the kids, probably going through some lessons, like teaching them valuable lessons, whether it's about just being responsible as kids, or being respectful to the elders, or whatever the case may be. Just things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of mentioned, we kind of talked about those core topics. We talked about courage. We talked about respect, honesty. Which one of those has kind of been your guys' favorite to talk about, or which one has kind of impacted those classes and you the most?
I think personally the respect one, especially in this upcoming generation, learning how to respect each other, politically or not, or just in general, is very hard for the youth. And I think being able to lead them in that aspect, and showing them how to show respect and when it's respectful to others, is very beneficial.
For sure. What about you guys?
I would probably say courage, just because, kind of like what Matt said, it takes a lot of courage to do some of the things in today's generation, and a lot of those kids are super good kids, and kind of like what I said though, some of them have struggled backgrounds, and it takes a lot of courage for them to step up and be open with us about past things. But yeah, those kids were awesome. They had a lot of courage to let us come into the classroom and kind of help them and be a leader for them.
Sure. Lenny?
I guess I'll talk about the honesty part. I think it was pretty cool just to see, like, those kids are very honest. very, very
a little too much sometimes.
Yeah, a little too much. But yeah, they were definitely open. It was pretty cool, to hear some of the things that they, felt comfortable telling us, and there were some good things that was being said, and some things that probably should have been kept to themselves. But yeah, it's a good experience, and just to get to know some of the kids.
For sure. And I know a big impactful one that I remember was trust, and doing that exercise with the toilet paper. So yeah, we had to wrap our toilet paper. The first person to wrap it, was it around their waist and over their shoulder, and you had to pass it to the next person. They had to keep doing it. And those little activities, man, they might not do a whole lot for us, but they mean a lot for them, because they're still learning those objectives. So kind of talk about what it means because you guys, some guys obviously Garrett's a little younger than the rest of you guys, but talk about that dynamic of being able to go into a middle school as college football players and be able to talk to them.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, just because a lot of them were like kind of sports fans, and a lot of them looked up to us as kind of like role models. So having the opportunity to go in there and kind of just teach them valuable lessons, and continue to spread the wisdom that we get onto them, that was really cool. That was a lot of fun.
For sure.
Yeah, I just think it was kind of dope. It almost gave me flashbacks of when I was a kid, and pretty much had the same thing where, adults would come in and talk to us and stuff like that. So it's just pretty cool to be on the other side, being something for, the kids to look up to.
Yep.
And, there was a lot of kids that, had the aspirations of being a football player, so they kind of looked up to us and had tons of questions for us, so it was pretty cool just to be able to interact with them.
For sure.
Yeah, I could agree. It was pretty good experience, coming from a bunch of different schools, and as I'm one of the older guys, growing up I didn't have like the leadership or the father figure role, so being able to be that for some of these kids was very, very helpful for me and for them to kind of understand like where they're coming from and being able to like help with that.
For sure. And last question, so obviously you guys are older than middle schoolers, so kind of talk to me about what you would tell your younger self, or a middle school Garrett or Lenny or Matt Shams.
That's a good one. I would say to myself, just kind of what I was talking about, courage. Like I definitely struggled in middle school having confidence, and 'cause I was always a bigger kid, and I always struggled with like getting picked on and stuff like that. So I would just tell my younger self to not worry about that. Be courage and be strong about it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what they say. And so some of those kids had their own struggles that we went to in middle school, and trying to help them, go through them, give them different answers, or different, like trying to help them out and solve these things. I would just relate that back to myself and take the help that you could get. I know we had some people that would come in, like high schoolers, and they would, do kind of the same stuff with us. So be courage about it, have courage, be strong about it, and just take the advice that we're given.
To my younger self, I'll probably tell them to keep going. Just stay consistent. Consistency is definitely just a big part in life in general. Stay consistent. That's really the most.
Yeah, something I would tell myself would be pretty much control the controllables. There's not many things as a little kid you can control, like family and all that. And growing up, having courage and just being able to be out there, kind of like what Garrett said, just having confidence in yourself, and not worrying about what's going on in your current situation.
So I wasn't going to, but you said a really good point. Kind of talk more about controlling the controllables as an adult, as you get later on in your life, because I find it as a kid, there's a lot of things outside of your control. You can't drive, you don't choose really where you go to school, you kind of just go off of what your parents do. And so as you get older and things are kind of on your own, kind of talk about controlling the controllables as you get older.
Right. As you get older, there's only certain things you can control. Like you can control your actions, what you do. You can only control what's happening in the present. You can't control what happened in your past, and worrying about what's going to happen in the future. Like being able to pay bills and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, it may suck in your current situation. You can't do it, but you shouldn't have to worry about it. Like God has a plan for you, and there's a way to always take on that.
For sure, and I think that's a lot of people lean on the past as a controllable, like whether it's sulking, whether it's just leaning on something that happened, whether it's a loss, but being able to move on and control that is really big. So,
Yep.
Man, really appreciate you guys coming on, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, welcome back to part 2 of the Teach One to Lead One interview. I'm back with a few different guys. If you guys want to introduce yourself.
I'm Caleb, junior tight end.
Carson, sophomore quarterback.
Jack Boy, junior offensive lineman.
Jake, junior linebacker.
So really good to have you guys on. So obviously we kind of talked about Teach One to Lead One. If you guys want to kind of talk about what your guys' classrooms do a little bit, what you guys do for Teach One to Lead One.
We go through with lessons and teaching the kids how different life lessons apply to different situations, and honestly just try to have a good time with the kids while giving them life lessons.
For sure. What's been your guys' favorite activity or favorite lesson that you guys have done?
I think just interacting in general. We did this little truth or not truth. I forget exactly what it was, but we had the kids all come up on the board and they had a little fly swatter. We had them to pick which answer they wanted to, and they were having really fun with that. Thankfully they didn't hit each other, but they just stuck to hitting the board, so that was really good. It was really fun to see them interact.
about you guys?
I think my favorite one was we had to pick one student, and I basically had to like guide them while only speaking to them, so that they had to like tie their eyes up, whatever. And they had to get through the classroom, but the class got to make an obstacle course, and they were screaming on top of their lungs, so she could barely hear anything. But I was able to like yell enough, and then she actually beat the course, and like everybody was celebrating, and it was pretty cool. So that was pretty fun. Except for the kids trying to trip me a little bit with some of the chairs to mess it up, but it was fun.
Yeah, they're giving you an obstacle course.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, for sure. And those little impacts, those little activities that we do, like I said, they might not mean a lot to us, but those kids will remember that forever. And kind of speaking on that, like obviously you guys were all in elementary school. I don't know if you guys had football players come to your guys' school or not, or had the local high school team come down. But what does it mean for you guys to be able to give back at this point in your guys' career? You guys are all at different points, senior, junior, sophomore. So kind of talk about what it means to be able to give back to the middle school.
For me, giving back in a way with the youth is what I want to do in my future. So doing that now feels really natural and really good for me, because I always believe that the people we look at as bad or whatever, it's never they just have it. It's life events that come on. And with these kids, you don't know what's going on at home, but just bringing in that little bit of peace and a little bit of hope can change lives.
Without a doubt. What about you guys?
Probably piggyback off of what Caleb said. You don't know what goes on, outside of when you see him, so to be able to brighten your day a little bit, or teach us some good life lessons, probably goes longer than what we think.
Without a doubt. You guys have anything to add?
I mean, I guess really piggyback again. Like, I know at least as a kid, like I really like was pumped up whenever someone like came in, or like I had the opportunity a lot to go to like a lot of camps as a kid, whether it was wrestling, football, and like having people that like that you don't know, but are like able to like spark up your day. It's like stuff you're not gonna forget. So I knew growing up, and like now that I get to go back and do that, is like I think it's pretty beneficial, and it's something like I want to do.
For sure. And like these kids don't know, like they don't know, like to them, like you guys are NFL superstars. Like the one kid asked, it was our first day, I think Carson in our first class, he was like, who did you guys scared to play against? We're like, nobody. And this kid's like, yeah, like would you guys be scared to play against Georgia? I'm like, okay, maybe a little bit, but it's just being able to impact those kids. Like you said, you don't know what goes on throughout their day, throughout their life, so to be able to bring that joy for that 46 or 45 minutes that we're there is really rewarding. So we kind of talked about some of the activities. So, and like you said, Caleb, we talked about a lot of core values in there. So kind of talk about what your guys' favorite core value that we've talked about so far.
My personal favorite was courage, because I feel like no matter what stage of life you're in, courage is something that's always going to be challenging. Between obstacles and just going through new situations in life, courage is something that's always going to be here.
For me, it was respect, because I feel like respect is one of those things, that's how you earn opportunity. The more people you give respect and gain respect of, the more willing they are to give you opportunity and help you through life.
I'd say probably I think it was integrity. Always being able to keep good morals and do the right things behind closed doors goes a long way. It shows a lot about who you are as a person and a character.
Yeah, that was the one I was gonna piggyback off, is integrity. I feel like especially in nowadays culture, not a lot of kids look to have integrity. Like they kind of just if stuff's going bad, they'll just kind of point the blame and be like, all right, well, if everything else is going bad, I might as well just go with the motions, or just give it back instead of just being able to handle those tough situations and still be respectful.
Without a doubt. And I think we've all been kind of able to take a little bit away from the lessons that we've learned. And I know that a lot of kids, it's been eye-opening for some of them. I know the integrity one, we had a couple kids where it was like, oh, would you tell on somebody if they took your money, or would you give the money back? And one of the kids said he would take that $400. And that was I was like, shoot. But it's just being able to teach them at a young age, so that by the time they get to an adult, man, they're already seasoned and well ready. So we kind of already hit on what it's like to kind of give back. to these middle school kids. So what is it like, or what would you tell a younger self of you at this age in your life?
You'll get as far as hard as you work. I felt like as a elementary and middle school kid, I was very lazy. I had something happen in high school to where it kind of gave me a different outlook on life, to where I got to get it together. And I think even then that past kind of bites me sometimes. So it's just having that courage to do what you know you need to do and keep things going.
Mine would probably be, don't change to fit in with a group of people. When I was in middle school, I wasn't myself. I always tried to change who I was, fit in with other people who I thought were my friends at the time, but found out in high school that those weren't the people I wanted to hang out with, and I found my best friends to this day, so I would say just be yourself.
Probably say not be timid. You know, I was a fat little chunky kid in elementary school, so I was always, scared to make new friends because I thought I'd just get made fun of all the time. But the older you get, the less it becomes more about people picking on you. Really, you start to find out your true friends when you get older, and venture out and talk to people.
I would say for me, my faith wasn't that good growing up. So I know I got baptized here in college, so I would probably just tell younger me to find God sooner and really understand how important your relationship is with God. Because I feel like all of us, when we get to high school, sometimes we get to that point where we're why is this happening to me, or what's my calling? So I think if I just would have been on a better path then, things would have been a lot more clear in my mind, and I just would have trusted the process more instead of just worrying about oh no, if I don't do this, if I don't make a play, if I don't get good grades. Yeah.
For sure, and I think Carson and yours point kind of tie in, trying to find out who you are, and you might try to fit in some other places, you might try to do things that you normally wouldn't do or don't want to do, they go against your morals, but you're just trying to fit in. And I think so many times people try to find that through God afterwards, they have that realization that maybe that's not what I wanted to do, or that's not who I wanted to hang out with. And so finding God and finding that peace through that is really beneficial. And so many people that I've been to college with and I've coached have found it at this point in their life. They've waited till that long. And so for you to be able to give that advice, man, you don't know who that could impact. So that's really good stuff. And lastly, last time we were at Teach on to Lead One, we actually weren't in our normal classrooms. We were in the cafeteria. If you guys want to kind of talk about and share what we did there.
We filled up bags with, I think it was rice, something, and just food, and we set them up to send them to kids in Haiti, and you never know who that impacts.
It was a really interesting experience because they were trying to have us not do any of the actual activity, but we were trying to coach the younger kids through it, and it was really interesting trying to get them to follow through with all the rules and stuff because their attention span's not the greatest, and without not being in a classroom is alone really fun for kids because I know always when we got to do something out of class that was the best. So trying to get them on task was really interesting.
Yeah. When I saw that we were sending food to Haiti, it meant a little more because down in South Florida, where I'm from, there's a lot of kids I went to high school with that are Haitian and from Haiti and their families, so it makes me feel like I'm giving more of a direct impact back to my community back home, just because I know a lot of people that are from that country and went through the struggles of all the earthquakes and hurricanes and everything, so it feels kind of good to give back.
I just thought it was pretty cool, kind of Carson said too, it was a little interesting in the beginning, but once we got it going though, they thought it was such a fun thing. They were actually trying to compete with each other, so they got a lot back out of it. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys having on. Keep doing what you guys are doing, and have lots of great voices.
So.